And a very good morning and welcome to day 2 of the European Para-Dressage Championships here in Rotterdam. The Longines FEI European Championships, we had 3 gold medals decided yesterday. A day with plenty of drama and no least some unexpected results which added an extra twist to the opening day. Will we see unexpected results today as Sanaa and Sophie Wells go in as hot favourites for their respective classes today in grade 4 and grade 5? And we begin with the grade 4 this morning on another beautiful day in Rotterdam. Plenty of combinations warming up and ready to go in this lovely arena, surrounded in the middle. Well, we feel like we're in the middle of the wood, but we're not no more than about 100 meters away from the main arena, where of course the dressage and the jumping are taking place. But here then is the start list for our grade 4, and looking down the list, Manon Claes amongst the early starters, and then also Sanaa, the overwhelming favourite for this particular class. Nikki Greenhill will be last, representing Great Britain, their first visually impaired para-dressage competitor at a European Championship, so a big chance for her to state her claims potentially for Tokyo. But Robert Howell alongside me. First up yesterday, Robert, days of unexpected results.
It was, yeah.
Drama in one when we had a tie, had to go and come back. What more could you want?
It was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, that tie in the grade 1 between Jens Lassedokken and Sarah Morganti was just so unexpected. I mean, I kind of, coming into this, Jens is always on the list simply because he's been around for so long and his track record is so great, but that was kind of it's 10 years or so since he last won a major medal, let alone a gold, and that was his first ever gold at an individual test. But this is someone who's been competing since the 1996 Paralympics, if not before, so for him to come back like that was amazing. Sarah obviously came into that as the clear favourite. She's double world champion, she's world number 1 in the grade. She was, until last week, overall world number 1. Frankly, it was just that twitch on the start that cost her that goal. But it was so close. That's never happened before.
Well, it was today, though. It is hard to look on in real terms beyond Sanaa, obviously the triple gold medalist from Tryon. Although it didn't go all the way for the Dutch yesterday. Rick van der Hurst probably would have been a bit disappointed. So it's by no means a foregone conclusion. But you just look through here today and go,
yeah. Absolutely. If you look through the starting list today, I mean, Sanaa is the clear favourite. She's, she's number 3. She's overall number 3 in the world, let alone #1 in the world for the grade. She's a triple gold medalist from last year's World Equestrian Games. She picked up the gold in the freestyle at Rio, although she came 4th in the individual in Rio, so she doesn't always have the individual, isn't necessarily on paper her strongest test. She did win the gold again in the freestyle at WEG at 2014. Her track record at the Europeans, however, she doesn't necessarily sweep the board on a European level. So she got the gold in Gothenburg, for example. But if you go back further than that, she didn't pick up anything in Deauville in 2015 at European level. I mean, obviously that one might have been on a different horse. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it on paper, her and Dementa, they're just a brilliant, brilliant partnership, and they're lovely to watch.
They are, and she will be in the later starters. She will be 12th of the 60 at 10:59 local time, so in a couple of hours' time she will be coming into the arena. But I say, it's a lovely morning here, and we're getting ready for our first competitor, and he is from Poland. I think he's the only Polish representative here this week, so we'll be off with a horse called Liverpool, and from Poland, and he is their own, I can confirm he is their only representative here this week, and coming into the arena on this grey, and 13-year-old grey, and he's been riding this horse since the start of the year. Now, grade 4, obviously the arena is at full size here. Just to confirm judges, we have Elke Elber from Germany on E. Sarah Rogers is on H, which is in, from our position, the top left-hand corner of the arena. C at centre is, and the president of the grand jury for this one is Jeanette Wolfs from the Netherlands. Catherine Ruzecki is at M, and Jel Mara from Norway is at B. So the bell sounded, and day 2 can officially get underway then in the Longines FEI Para-Dressage European Championships, and beginning is Maciej Bigaj, who is the 37-year-old Pole, and beginning, and the kind of scores that we would expect from him, around about mid to high 60s seems to be where we'd be going with him.
Yeah, he's a mid-60s scorer so far.
So, and obviously this, we 1, 2 and 3, we're getting to the less disabled sections, but clearly in Maciej's case, riding now beginning sort of 63, and you can see, so sort of producing the kind of test that he would normally sort of be expecting, maybe a little better, as we see the scores are all around about the 6.5, the odd 7, the odd 5 as well, just in there as well, but solid enough as a starting point. But we have 16 combinations going. He's into the all followed by the rein back, not actually perfect there, and being judged accordingly with some 5s. A bit hurried, this test, it feels. Yesterday really was a fabulous way to start, and twists and turns, and seeing one of the elder statesmen come away with gold, and then the emergence of, well, he's much known about, but the young Danish rider was much talked about over the last couple of years, but his talent was revealed to all and sundry yesterday with that gold medal winning performance.
It was brilliant with Tobias yesterday. He came onto the scene big time in Gothenburg 2 years ago, where he picked up a couple of fourth spots, but he really did make an impression on everyone who was watching him. And then he had a bit of bad luck in the run up to WEG last year. We were really talking him up as a prospect for WEG, and then his horse was injured really days away from WEG. and then for him to come back yesterday. And of course his mother, Lena, rides in grade 5 this afternoon. So there's a bit of a nice little family story going on there. But I spoke to him yesterday and I asked him how he was going to celebrate, expecting, go out for a few drinks and stuff. He said, actually, I just want to go back to bed because I'm so tired.
Well, I think emotionally it's it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
no, it was. There may have been tears. I can't promise it.
Well, at 19 he's probably entitled to, and it's a big moment for him as we continue to watch our opening rider completing his test here. Obviously, the more able-bodied they are. We see canters now. It is consistently in the 6s, their scores. 1 or 2 7s, but they're a bit of a rarity, so hence the reason why the score is sitting in the mid-60s for the Polish competitor. He has picked up a little bit as the test goes on. Got into his stride, and you need to look a little bit more assured out there. Always difficult when you're first up, but the judges have got their eye in from yesterday. And coming down to complete the first test of the morning, trotting down the centre line to our judge at C, Jeanette Bulls from the Netherlands, and applause for our opening competitor, and a big pat on the back from Maciej, and hear him. He's happy enough with that as an opening start, and really is just a wonderful location to spend a few days here. I really have turned up trumps in terms of the feel here. In the middle of, basically, we're in the middle of a wood surrounded by a lot of water.
Yeah, although I've yet to see this mythical lake, so I'm not sure I believe in it until I see it.
Well, there is a lake. It's not. It's just behind us.
Oh, is it just there?
It's just behind us. Well, behind us. It's
to
not
our left.
To our left and behind us. There is a great big lake.
Okay.
And then there's lots of other canals running around. So.
Oh, right. Okay. I will go and explore.
Yeah, yes, there is definitely a lake.
Yeah. I'm doing about 15,000 steps a day backwards and forwards between here and the press office, so I'll add a couple more on.
You're not a man who's monitoring his steps, are you?
Always.
Are you fallen for that, have you? Yeah. What did you? It's not that far from the main press office.
No, I know, but when you do it 20 times a day, it soon adds up.
Right.
Plus the walk back to the... anyway.
Yeah, anyway. First world problems.
That's our thing, not yours.
Yeah. But anyway, he's just confirming the opening score as 64.902, which is, I suppose he may be slightly disappointed, having been riding this horse since the start of the year, but last time they did come up with a 66.301, but obviously maybe the quality of the field here, the marquee, maybe just not quite producing an improved performance there, as that is our judge at C. And next up, coming in, is the experienced Italian competitor, and Federico Lunghi is the competitor who is coming in to the arena here. And it's only the third competition that he's ridden this horse, and it's Dance Valley M. Was in Tryon, but on a different horse where they only scored 61.902. But this horse does seem to be scoring much higher marks. So, Rob, I suppose I've noticed that scored 65.447 in a recent individual. Freestyle was getting a 70. So this 11-year-old might just make him a bit more competitive. And they're presenting a nice picture as they just go through their warm-up in the arena.
So he's 17th in the world for his grade, but like you say, newer horse. We'll see what he do. What's also really lovely about this competition and para-dressage, well, I guess all equestrian sport as well, is when you notice how the teammates come out in force to support each other. So from where we're sitting now, we're looking at the back of Sarah Morganti's head. She's come out. She doesn't have to. She's not riding today, but she's come out to support. She's right in front of us there. And you know, and you see in the stands, you'll often find teammates will come out and support. And it's always just really nice to see that sense of comradeship and support.
I think she might be quite determined to win the freestyle.
Yeah, she will want the freestyle very much so. Yeah,
I think she'll be a lady on a mission come Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Obviously, Italy probably not thinking about medals as far as the team competition is concerned. But as I say, this is this combination do seem to be improving.
Yeah.
And you can see that already with the scores. This is, you can see how much just sort of a different feel than the first competitor. And plenty of sevens. And
it is interesting. I find it fascinating in this sport when you watch it more and more, that you do begin to get a sense of the difference in skill and just the overall look of a performance. You can tell where there's just a bit more energy or a bit more control or a bit more harmony, and it's fascinating when you can spot it.
It's getting quite close to the boards there, and as a result the rein back was not executed perfectly and costly as a result, getting a 4.5 from the Johansen right in front of her. He wasn't going to miss that clattering into the boards, and they're not straight rein back, but still it's a decent enough test. And again, looking ahead, can he continue to show confidence with this horse? Just one or two mistakes have just appeared in the latter stages, and the scoring just going down a little bit as a result. It's not quite the fluency of the early part of the test. Well, since the rein back, there's been a slight loss of confidence.
That must be a really tough thing to deal with, mustn't it, when you're in any kind of competition and then something like that happens? It must be difficult to get your mindset back in and just refocus so quickly. I don't think I can do it.
Well, that's sport, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The real superstars of whatever sport it is, the ones who don't let the mistakes worry them and just say, well, that happened, I can't do anything about that, I've got to regroup mentally, don't worry about it afterwards, but not in the here and now.
I think I'd just turn around and walk away.
Yeah. Well,
but that's why I'm not a top sports person.
We can enjoy top sports people doing their trade, but so the marks just regrouped a bit. So marks picking up just a little bit towards the end, with good marks for the collected canter. 7.5 something. So he has just settled, and that's why the score is just looking a little healthier. But again, the kind of marks he's getting are sort of what we would be expecting.
Yeah, very much so.
Continuing to creep slightly upward. So, coming down to complete his test is the Italian 41-year-old Federico Lunghi. Experienced Italian competitor. See how he finishes now at the final stages into the halt and salute. And I tell you what, that's a wonderful reaction. Someone's happy. Well, it clearly means an awful lot to Federico. That is probably the most expressive reaction I've seen so far. That was wonderful. Well, and the cheers you hear are from his supporters. What a reaction. Clearly enjoyed that enormously.
And
Very
those scores
animated.
picked up into the 67s towards the end, which will be a good score. That would be a good score for Federico, because you look back on his FEI record as his previous scores, they've been kind of low to the 63s, the 64s, the 65s. So if he's getting a 67, then obviously he is going to be happy with that.
Well, and obviously very clearly within the support that the Italians are a very popular character, and his enthusiasm and his reaction there was as animated as we have seen. And obviously, I think, as you say, not been so it's been in the low 60s, but suddenly to have a horse that now suddenly feels a little bit more competitive, getting into the higher 60s, suddenly gives him optimism. And so this horse, Dance Valley M, this just an 11-year-old, so on the basis of that, there's plenty of time to continue to improve. And
again, that's what they want. When I speak to these riders, you know, so often they may not win an overall competition, but they're getting personal best scores, or they're just constantly improving and building that relationship with the horse. And then when you see someone like Federico, who clearly has what he feels is a better horse, you know, it's that whole, and it's the analogy about, you know, you could be the greatest driver in the world and then you get a Ferrari. So what could you do then to sort of?
Well, this is it. You know, you can be ultimately. This is what, you know, you can be a talented rider. As we look at that animated reaction again to confirm his score of 66.951, and clearly. Means an awful lot for Federico, and that performance putting him in to the lead, beating the Polish rider. So next up, one of the Spanish contingent here. They're all in position to watch the next rider come in, and it is the Spanish 25-year-old Alberto Ferro Martinez riding Echo de Tormenta, a 13-year-old chestnut, and come from a horsey family. His brother competes at an able-bodied dressage. Was out of the sport between 2011-2017, but came back and has been riding this horse, and again is the sort of competitor we would expect to see in the mid-60s as a starting point, looking at the performances of this horse in recent times. Oh, just spooking. Oh. And recovering it well. So this just spooked there in the bottom corner. And he's now going to start his test. So clearly not what he was looking. Horse just on edge a little bit. But he recovered it. It's always an anxious moment. These riders more able-bodied, so more able to cope when something like that happens. Joining us tomorrow is Natasha Baker, who of course had that horror moment in the World Equestrian Games last year.
But like she said, at least she landed very neatly on the centre line. With that.
She did. She didn't get marked for it, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately.
Clearly, this is proving quite a test. And early on, because obviously the way he started. But is just trying to get the horse back on track after a nervy start in the early part of the test when the horse just spooked away. So I think it's all about damage limitation now and trying to find some good marks and get the confidence going. Clearly the marks are improving.
But again, that composure and that determination to get back on track and just to continue when something like that happens so early in the test. And we mentioned Natasha before just now, but she's had this as well. You know, at WEG, the World Equestrian Games back in 2014, she went into the arena as a hot favourite. And as she walked into the arena, one of the TV cameras just turned to follow her, and that sent JP Cabral. He just went, you know, and he wasn't interested, and he spooked, and the whole thing, and she ended up with silvers, and we expected her to get golds. It's just one of those things.
The rub of the green not quite going right. This horse just not having a real going day, just making too many mistakes. Put this one down to experience. Come back stronger and the team test, which will be happening over the next couple of days. Spain with a 4-rider contingent. They've got 2 in this particular grade. Iker Astondoa is also going, representing Spain. He will be going 9th. It's been tough on Alberto from the moment the horse just lost concentration and just wanted to have other ideas about what was going to do this morning. This 13-year-old chestnut. I think it might be an element of relief that he's coming down the centre line.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that wasn't. He probably won't count that as one of his better days in the Para-Dressage office.
Well, not quite the same reaction after that just, I think, one of relief. Just having a looking down and applause from his teammate, but I suppose also saying well done for keeping it going. And in the end, there was some good, better marks at the end for Alberto.
But also at the end, really nice to see that it would appear that in his reaction and the way he handled his horse, that his immediate concern seemed to be, actually, are you okay? Yeah. Talking to the horse and making sure the horse is happy, because clearly the horse was spooked going in, and that set the tone for the rest of the test. And Alberto's main concern is to calm the horse down.
Well,
you should never really ever doubt that these riders love their horses. You know,
that goes without saying.
Yeah.
And here you can see what happened at the beginning, just coming down and just didn't want to play. And he recovered quickly, and he just thinking, right, let's get on with this. And then clearly there was going to be problems from there on in. Actually, a great recovery. He's got restricted movement on the right side of his body, suffering from cerebral palsy. And that, again, if you haven't got, the horse was jinking to the right, and you've got to try and control it. It emphasises the quality of the horse, the horse skills, the riding skills of all these competitors. That despite their restrictions, they can cope with if the horse suddenly doesn't want to behave like a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely, as one of them, I think we might be founder members of the Natasha Baker fan club, because I'm going to quote her again now.
Well, we're going to be hearing a lot of her over the next 3 days.
Yeah, I'm getting you all ready for it.
Yeah.
She once said to me that, again, I think it was Wagon in Normandy 5 years ago when her horse spooked and it didn't go as well. She said to me, well, the thing is, Rob, they're not robots, are they? And then she kind of went, I wish they were sometime.
Well, because the horse wasn't behaving like a robot, Alberto Ferro Martinez scored 57.780. Now coming into the arena is from Norway, and this is Anita Johansen, and of course Norway have enjoyed gold medal winning success with Jens Lasse surprising everybody in the Grade 1. Well, maybe not himself entirely, but I think probably would be seen as he was not necessarily expected to come away with a gold medal, but thoroughly deserved in yesterday's wonderful Grade 1 competition, where we had a tie but had to be worked out on the collective scores. But coming in now is the 48-year-old Norwegian rider. She is riding Lindegard Lucky, and earlier this year scored 67.927. So we're looking where with again is and currently Frederica Lungi is leading with 67.171, and a calmer start to proceedings. Quite a nice beginning for Anita. Although the range of marks from a 7.5 to a 7 on and a 5 to the opening, so contrasting views. Quite a cross section there from the judges at the beginning. Now she's settling into plenty of 7s now, creeping into the scores now, so she is riding with a degree of confidence now.
She's ranked 26th in the grade, but I was looking through her scores earlier, and she's had a couple of third places against similar competition, so she'll be looking to maintain that kind of mid to late 60s score, I would imagine.
been competing with this horse for some time. I think been riding this horse since 2016. Very much on a par with Federico's test, Federico Lunghi's test, which was finally adjudged at 67.171, but the scores, plenty of sevens, and so could be looking at the performance that could take the lead. Keeping the mistakes to an absolute minimum now and producing a fine, consistent test. Judges for the collective count are absolutely in agreement, all 5 giving 7. Benefit of the judges' computer. Although the loop proved pretty costly because threes and fours.
Yeah.
So that is the one area that has glaringly went wrong. But she's regrouped and back to the 7.5s and 7s again. So that might prove costly, that loop, in terms of our eventual outcome, and as a result her score has dipped significantly. But can she end on a high? She got close to the boards there.
I was going to say that was a bit of a clatter there, wasn't it?
A big clatter. Coming down the centre line again, the last couple of the judges completely in unison. Don't often see it, a complete line of 7s. So, just that one area where it went glaring error, which is on the loop, but otherwise a very consistent. Actually, I've seen a 9. Judge at H was suitably impressed with that halt to give a 9, and there haven't been many 9s in this particular championship, so she's ended really well there, having had a bit of a mistake, but some good strong marks at the end has seen her score improve significantly. Will it be enough to put her into the lead? Well, clearly that strong finish, and I think kept a very smooth ride for Anita, and then
57.805 het officiële resultaat voor onze deelnemer uit Spanje voor Alberto Ferro Martinez.
Just looking at the marks for the collectives at the end, again all around about the 7. coming down there. Waiting on her final score. Will it be enough to put her into the lead? I think she going to be there or thereabouts. 67.171, as I say, was Frederica Lunke's score.
Leading a score of 67.073.
Well,
67.073, leading score. Anita Johansen, that's a professional result, 67.073.
Which I think, unless they've rejigged, puts her into second, because actually Frederica Lunge is 67.171, and provisionally Anita Henny Johansen is 67.073. So, although it came up as first, it just means that she's in second. And actually, that loop proving very costly when a series of fours, and that has meant that her mark dipped significantly on what had been a pretty decent test up until that moment. And then finished strongly, but currently into second. Rider coming in now, though, is from Finland. It's Pia-Pauliina Raiti coming down to start her test, the 30-year-old, riding a 10-year-old stallion, Supremo, and in the World Equestrian Games was scoring again in the mid-60s. So let's see how she can get on. And another one whose idol is Kira Kirkland, one of the doyens of dressage and Finnish equestrian sport.
So she's 11th in her grade.
And a decent enough start with 7s and 7.5s. That's the reason why she's into the high 60s at this moment. But a long way to go. Finland with 4 riders here. We got Kajalainen, who was competing in the Grade 1. We had Jessica Curtin, who will be competing in this grade as well, along with Pia-Pauliina, and Jana Kivimäki is the other rider representing Finland at these European Championships. Into the rain back. Wasn't entirely without its difficulties for her. To medium walk with a.
It seemed to start
circle.
well. Now
Yeah.
she's dipped ever so slightly, hasn't she?
Well, yeah, and that half circle and medium walk didn't go too well. Some 4s along there. So just again, it's the being able to maintain the consistency and level of performance that probably is where. See the top ones like Sanaa in this class will avoid these mistakes. And there are quite a few appearing now, so this is seeing her score just dip. just keeping in the mid-60s. So very much on track to the kind of scores that she's traditionally been scoring, and it's not a completely error-free test, hence the reason why the marks can't get any better.
No, this is exactly where we would expect it to be. Although sometimes you feel like a big championship should bring on a. You know, it's no criticism. Who am I to judge? But you know, it's bang on form. She's 11th in the world. You look through her scores, and it is this mid to late 60s type area. Normally break the 70% mark, which you would need to be doing at Europeans and the Worlds to be in with a shot of a medal.
So coming down the centre line for the final time. Well, I'll tell you what, the Frederica Lungi's score has been changed. That's the reason why Anita Johansen is in the lead. Hasn't come through officially yet, but 67.024, it's been rounded down. But in terms of Paulina Reiti, Paulina Reiti, well, again, mid-60s. So there are, that's why at the moment Anita Henny Johansen is in the lead, because her score has gone up to 073, 67.073, and Frederica Lungi 67.024. So there is a little change in the leaderboard at the moment as Pia Paulina comes out of the arena with a sort of rueful look on her face, knowing that wasn't without its little blips along the way. We were talking about Natasha, who's on her way. You're coming over here. She's basically WhatsApped me saying she's looking forward to coming here.
Right.
But she said, and I'm glad we agree with Natasha, because we both said it, the class is between Sanaa, Louise and Manon. Did we not agree that? Do we agree with Natasha? There we go.
But I'm also wise enough never to disagree with Natasha.
Well, I know my place in life. I won't be disagree with.
I am her warm-up act.
Well,
and I won't be.
Anyway, she will be here tomorrow, but I'm very appreciative of you being my warm-up act. But I tell you what, in the end, not a bad score, saying 67.0. So I think that, and again, although it had some blemishes, in the end has come out with a pretty decent score. Because at the end there was some good marks towards the end on this gorgeous day. A couple more riders before we have first of our breaks here, and one of those will be the lady who we were talking about, Manon Claves, who is due to come in at 9:54. But next up, the young French rider. It is Camille Jagelin, just 19 years of age, and was competing when just 17 in the European Championships. When got a grand again, sort of 66.70 his score in the European Championships. Did, however, score at Oberhorn recently, 68.703. So again, this is with this horse just being 15-year-olds, the partnership obviously growing in confidence. Maybe this could be a performance to go into the lead here.
Yep, it's certainly one to watch, and she's currently 8th in the world in her grade, and you know, these competitions sometimes throw up a surprise, so who knows, we'll see what she does, but yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. Sorry, we'll see what he does. See, this is why I don't do this with you.
No, we all make mistakes. But I think we better get that bit right.
Definitely get that bit right, definitely.
Mind you, there are 66 riders to go through, and you know, not everyone's going to be totally familiar to us all, but Camille is off and running with this Gelding. And let's see how he gets off to a tidy start. 7s and 8s there, so good beginning with this horse, Wimke.
And again, interesting to see that the French teammates have come out, but also you can see who's coming up in the competition, because I just saw Barbara Minichi, who won the bronze yesterday, come out to support her teammate Manon, who's obviously riding next. And then I don't know if you noticed, but Peppo Pugh from Austria just walked past us and gave us a jaunty hello, because he's obviously come out to watch his teammate who's going after the break.
You got
just star spotting.
You're star spotting, yes. Peppo Puig, another gold medal to add to his collection after yesterday's grade 2. First gold medal of the day went, and again that was, I suppose, a degree of predictability, but the rest of the day definitely was not, and was thoroughly absorbing. The moment we haven't sort of sprung to life, but I'll tell you what, Camille is putting together a respectable test at the moment. Yesterday we did see a 19-year-old gold medal winner in Tobias Johansen coming good yesterday. The French haven't got a rider who's, unless I've got this wrong, not necessarily meddling, sort of trying to bring their team on and raise the standard. And clearly Camille may be one with a bright future.
There's also an element of Tokyo ranking qualification, because if your national team doesn't qualify, and a team gets 4 riders to take to Tokyo, but if your team doesn't qualify but you're individually ranked, I think in the top 7 for your continental region, then you could go as an individual. So as well as the team ranking points to qualify for Tokyo, there's also chasing of individual ranking points.
Well, Mark's just hovering around the 6.5, 7s, and that is so again, we're seeing tests are all very sort of similar at the moment. I think no standout test. That could change with Manon coming in on Saint-Dior, but
one would expect it to. But again, I judge all of this just on paper, really. This is just based on results and what you know of them, and it's sport and anything can happen.
Well, as you know, it does, the way this sport is, you can at least expect to see, unless there is a major improvement. You're never suddenly going to see from a 50, say from a 65, you're never suddenly going to see a 75. Absolutely. You might see, you want to see the
step up each time, but it would be rare, you're right, to go from 65 to 75 overnight.
And all looking, again, picking up some better marks towards the end of the test. Whoops, nearly lost it there, but recovered. And as a result, there were some 3s and 2s.
Yeah, that'll cost him. You could see that the horse just went on edge there at the start of that movement.
Which is the just the changing, and that has brought his score right down, disappointingly, but that's why you can't, every element is significant, as we saw and we talked about, that even at the beginning, ultimately when you look back, Sarah Morganti lost the gold.
Absolutely.
On the way the horse was a little tense at the beginning, marks weren't good enough, and in the end she could never pick up enough to
but again, shows the brilliance of her ride to have started like that and still end up technically in first place.
So every part of the test can have an impact. You may not think so, but when you look back you say, oh, that's the one.
That's the very, and in Sarah's case yesterday, that is the very specific moment where that gold medal went.
Yeah. And she's probably playing it through in her mind over and over again. I wondering what went wrong. But in this case, this is all about confidence and learning about competing in the big time. And Camille is, well, he's put it up behind him and has picked up some better marks, and as a result the scoring has improved.
Yeah, he'll be able to take away
there's lots of positives.
quite a bit from that. You know, a great start, a very clear error on one element that has cost him marks, but no, I think overall he can be quite pleased with that.
So, Wimke and Camille Jagelin complete their test, and looks again, it is going to be around about the 67, 66 mark finally, but coming out of the arena. And again, he knows, you can see on his face there that a little disappointed with those mistakes, and that it wasn't, and proving a little costly, because obviously there is the matter of trying to make it through to the freestyle at the weekend as well. So there's, you know, and he looks a little disappointed as he comes out, and he knows so that it could have been better, as the song goes. No, it could have been you, wasn't it?
I was going to say, what song would that be?
I don't know. Anyway, my little song in my own mind, I think probably. It might be, yes.
Might be.
What's in that coffee?
We will have a 20 minutes break.
Right. Well, we look at the some of the tests, and looks as if he's probably feels he might be ending up into 4th spot.
Yeah.
And then we will
just waiting on the final scores. Looks as if now Frederica, look at my scoring, is suggesting that Frederica Lungi is in the lead now, ahead of Anita Johansen. So the sort of
that's been a bit of a back and forth then.
Yes, it has been. But they seem to have worked out what's going on, the old computer in front of me. But for Camille Jagelin, we'll just wait on his score. I think he might be around about 65.878, somewhere in that region. Looking at what is in front of me on my computer scoreboard, and that is actually confirmation of his provisional score at the moment. It puts him into 4th spot, Camille Jagelin on 65.878, but that is a provisional score for the young Frenchman. Now, is this the first of our genuine medal contenders? Yeah. Manon Claes from Belgium coming in, and
I think on paper, Manon was 2nd in this competition in Gothenburg 2 years ago. She's 3rd overall in the grade in the world. She normally scores in the low to mid 70s. She's overall, out of all 5 grades, she's 12th in the world. And the other thing about this particular grade is, although it's dominated by Sanaa Wirtz, her main rivals are not from Europe. So Rodolfo Riscala from Brazil competes in this grade. I think one of the American riders competes in this grade. So in terms of European competition, Manon is definitely up there. Just to give you an example, she was 4th and 5th at the World Equestrian Games last year. So gives you a sense of how this unusually for Para-Dressage, but in a sport that's so dominated by European riders, there's more global riders in this grade, in the higher ranking. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think yes.
You know,
there's
what I mean.
Rodolfo, but clearly
yeah.
from Brazil. I think he's going to always, potentially could always be the man to beat. Well, not only to challenge Sanaa, but it adds a dimension. But you can see already the scores from Manon are right up there.
Right. Oh yeah.
And into the halt now, the rein back. And
again, you just see that difference in elevation and expression, and everything is just lifted.
Yeah, and the scores are a little bit higher as a result. Although the rein back and the halt didn't completely by what has been going before. Just a little bit of a dip in the standard, but clearly her marks when she won silver medal behind Sanaa in Gothenburg 2 years ago was 71.561. But her score in WEG in the individual was 72.854, yet she missed out on a medal, as you were saying, because of the strength of the non-European representatives in this Grade 4.
I just saw on Facebook that Rodolfo's actually on his way here to spectate. And,
well, he's based in France, I think.
Yeah, he lives in Paris. He works for Christian Dior in Paris. So
you're a mine of wonderful information.
I'm the
Some would say useless.
Para-Dresser.
Some would say useless, but actually that will do. He works for Christian Dior.
He works for Christian Dior. Yeah, he organises their. So they do this.
I think we should be watching. We should be concentrating. We're not worrying about what Rodolfo's doing, but Manon is doing very well at the moment, keeping it in the low 70s. And that was a very good turn, clearly the best, getting some 8s and 7.5s. And you can just see from the horse as well, there is that little bit more dynamic, a bit more dynamism coming through at all stages of this test.
Yeah, it always appears to me, again, as a amateur watcher, it just seems high. It seems a little bit high off the ground and a bit lifted.
Yep, and making it look easier.
A bit easier, yeah.
Well, that's what always the top class sports person, they make it look easier.
Yeah.
But you've got to have the horse, and this San Dior, as opposed to Christian Dior, is doing the business. And they've been a successful partnership. See, Belgium got a strong team. Already enjoyed success with Barbara Minetti, the side saddle rider in the Grade 3. Michel George obviously is a force to be reckoned with in Grade 5, and Kevin Van Ham is also part of the 4 riders from Belgium competing here. So they would be thinking about medals, won't they, in the team competition? Yes. Very definitely.
Yeah, the team competition over the next couple of days is going to be massive because it's so competitive between about 4 or 5.
Yeah. Well, you think teams. On paper the Netherlands appear the strongest team, but it's the minor honours is really tough looking. Everything is. I mean, that's what you want to see. More teams feeling competitive.
Yeah. The Netherlands are definitely out. Manon's just finishing,
and she's coming down, and it's a very good test indeed from Manon Close. Seemed very few mistakes and very pleasing on the eye. Coming down, that looks nice, coming down to the centre line, 2C. And there's a big smile from the 33-year-old Belgium, because there was nothing wrong with that test, and that is clearly going into the lead. But where could it end up? Could be the sign of performance that just might put a little bit of pressure on Sanaa Wirtz, and it might not be a foregone conclusion. And also the other rider who looks to have chances, Louise Jacobsen. Those are the 3 who are vying, you would think, for one of the colours of medals. But is that a gold medal winning performance? And I'll tell you what, Manon looks very satisfied with that. That might be right up there with one of her best ever, if not her best performance. If you look what she did at WEG last year and what she did 2 years ago, that is right up there as Manon gets off the horse and hugs all round, I think, there. It was that probably means, as we're going to the break, that Robert, I know, knows we'll have to head off and get words of wisdom from Manon, but hopefully Robert will be back to not only tell me what Manon has to say, but will join us once again for the other riders. But that was a very good test indeed, and mistakes to a minimum, plenty of 8s from the judges, right up there. And although this particular element wasn't, as not completely still, didn't get the best marks, the rest around this particular phase were always consistently in the 8s and 7s. So I think it looks a very good score. It's close at the moment in second and third, not a big spread of points. But delight all round there from the Belgian team. Hugs at the end because that was a wonderful event. We're looking at the score, and I'll tell you what, now the score's been announced, you can see the reaction from the Belgian contingent, because the score of 73.683, that admittedly is a provisional score, but that might be in the PB land and certainly in a major championships, hence the reason for the big hugs going on from the team there, because that is a performance that's going to give her a real chance of winning a gold medal. And Sanaa Wirtz, watching on, will be thinking, right, I've got to pull out something special here this morning in the grade 4. Manon Claes then with the performance of the day so far. We have a short break now before our next rider comes in, and that will be the rider from Russia, Vladislav Kolosov, and that will be in around 20 minutes time. Join us then. Hello.
Minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we will have the next rider in the number 8. We have a total of 16 riders. We're watching the Norwegian Hagar Para-Dressage European Championships, the individual test grade 4. Allianz, global leader in insurance and financial services, are committed to promoting inclusion, diversity and excellence both in the workplace and in the world of competitive sports. As a partner of the Paralympic movement, we help increase awareness and popularity of sport for people with an impairment worldwide. As long-standing partner of the CHO Rotterdam, we are proud to support Para-Dressage as main sponsor during this year's European Championships in our hometown. Thank you, Allianz. And then the official result for Belgium 73.805 and a leading score. That means she's leading Manon Kleist with the Columbia, the number 2, Anita Johansen, the current number 3. Beautiful tune, the tune for the next rider, Vladislav Kolosov, Russia. Laurencio 2 by Laurencio.
Well, welcome back then to the second session of this grade 4 class. at the European Championships here in Rotterdam. Here are the start list for the remaining riders. 8 to go, and rather 9 to go, I should say. And next up into the arena is the 59-year-old Russian competitor. Vladislav Kolosov is the rider trying to close in on what we think is a personal best for Manon Claes and Sandior in this grade, with the lead of 73.805. Looking through the records, seen she's had 73s, but in terms of the end score, I reckon that she has produced a personal best, and that is why she's out in front. Robert Howell has rejoined me.
Hello.
As little voice of hello, hello. Now, as we're seeing Vlasov coming, who in the European Championships scored 2 years ago 62.805, but did in Uberhelm score 67.602 recently. So that suggests, if we may be looking at a high 60s, where it's a pretty compacted area of the leaderboard following the opening proceedings, because we've got 3 in the 67s, Frederica Lunke, Anita Johansen and Pierre Paulina Reiti are all in the 67% range. Long way ahead, of course, is the Belgian rider Manon Claes, but looking at the start here, all decent enough in the high 60s again, which is where he was before. But Robert, now just while we're watching this, quick reaction to the Manon test.
I had a quick chat with her just now. She's absolutely delighted, very emotional. There were massive hugs with the Belgian team. The Belgian team's really tight this week, and they're really going for it from a team competition as well. So Barbara Monici's bronze yesterday, Manon almost definitely on the podium, but we'll see what happens today. They're absolutely delighted. Michelle George, their big superstar Paralympic world gold medalist, was just really hugging Manon. Everyone really delighted. Rather sweetly, Manon was a bit emotional because it's her grandfather's birthday today, and I think he died quite recently, so it adds to the emotion of the whole competition. I was just looking through her stats. It's not quite a PB.
Oh, okay.
There was a 74, but that was on Sandior, but 2 years ago, so certainly the best she's done for a couple of years.
I've been upstaged by the Para-Dressage expert. I was looking at the same thing, but obviously couldn't read it.
Go down a bit more. Scroll down. Always scroll down, Rupert.
I didn't scroll down far enough, but anyway, multitasking. Anyway, let's continue to appreciate the efforts of the Russian rider here, who is doing all right. Very much where he would be expecting to score, so that is the main thing. There's plenty of 7s though, but not obviously in the class of Manon Claes. And don't forget, we've also got to come in this little section Louise Jacobsen, who's maybe we'd be probably looking at bronze medal. Whether she's quite got what the 59-year-old got the horsepower to trouble the 73%, but obviously it's Sanaa Wirtz who will be the big challenger to the Belgian rider. But this is respectable enough for the Russians, who've got a couple going to be competing later in the grade 5. That's just having to hold it together there. Just slipping down a little bit some of the scores. As an example of what Robert was talking about, look at the large contingent of Russian support group watching on. The sport does bring about great unity and teamwork. It's the essence of the sport, because it's not just about the rider, it's the backup staff that also are integral to the whole sport, and the volunteers and the people who want to help the individual compete.
The riders always call out the team behind them whenever they speak about their performance. They always take the time to say, you know, it's not just me, it's the grooms, it's everyone back in the stable, it's the trainers, the physios,
and it's genuine, where sometimes you go through the motions, you know, but not in this particular equestrian discipline. The team is essential. And I think probably almost in horse sport as well, you've got to have the grooms, whoever it is, trainers, you name it. It's not a thing you can do on your own. But solid enough scoring here from the veteran Russian. Again, many of them will be trying to find a way to get in on the act on Sunday. Maybe just going to come up a little short here. Sort of exhale at the end there, just sort of phew almost. But I tell you what, that was a pretty good test, as the watching Russian contingent seem pretty pleased with what they've seen from their teammate. And for the Russian, and good enough scores.
Russia, I think, as a team is definitely one to watch. They're definitely building up each time, and their profile is rising within the sport. They've got a rider in grade 5 later on this afternoon, Natalia Martianova, who's 3rd overall in that grade, but it's really, you can really see over the last couple of years as her scores are improving. She gets on the podium at a lot of the three-star events. This is a 4-star event, but a lot of those internationals that run through the course of the season, Natalia is often on the podium there. It'll be interesting to see what Russia does in Tokyo and again in Paris and Los Angeles after that.
Well, Natalia Martinova, the rider you're referring to, will be last to go in the grade 5. Their other rider at that level is Anastasia Kozycheva. But looking at Vladislav Kolosov, well, his provisional score, I think it's going to be in the somewhere in the 66 region, and his provisional score is 66.927 is his score, and that puts him into provisional 5th spot. And with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment is Manon Claes, Frederica Lungi, who gave us the reaction of the day, maybe the reaction of the championship so far after his test. That was it was an animated, infectious reaction to his score of 67.171, because in his case he's been normally sort of hovering around the sort of low 60s, but to have a championship score in the high 60s, it clearly meant an awful lot to him. Then in 3rd spot is the Norwegian rider Anita Johansen. They're having a good championships, and Pierre-Paulina Reiti is in 4th, with Vladislav Kolosov in 5th. That's obviously all going to change, but next up is the second of our Spanish riders in this particular grade, and it's Iker Beisha Astandoa, riding the grade 12-year-old Absolute, and he's currently 26 years of age. His compatriot had a bit of a nightmare start to his test. The horse spooked and got a little bit unruly, and for Alberto Ferro Martinez with a 57.805, and he didn't really recover after a poor start. But let's see how Iker can get on. It's seeing Segovia in a 3-star produced 68.809 as a test. So for the 36-year-old, Baisha Astandoa. Can he produce a score similar to that? If he does, then into second spot he would go. And not a bad start, but he's got to maintain that standard throughout. Mistakes. It seems to be a, would you say, a fast test? Where it doesn't seem to be it's a bit frenetic, the horse. Were you thinking the same?
Well, I was watching it and I'm thinking, why does this feel and look a bit different? The horse feels and looks a bit different to some of the others we've seen, and yeah, you've nailed it. It's the speed, and his legs seem very, very busy.
Yes, I think that would be.
I'm not sure if that's the technical term.
Well, no, but it doesn't matter. But it's just what if you see what you see, and it all just feels a bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
A bit excited and a bit
excitable. I think that's a.
Yeah. I could make a go of this after all.
Yeah, but say what you see.
Say what you see. Absolutely.
Now, we may be completely off track here, but the scores are now down in the 64s, so just dipped a bit. You just feel you want to let the air out of the balloon a bit of the horse.
Yeah. Just give it a little. It's okay. Calm down. You're okay. But it's a beautiful horse. I've got a real soft spot for the greys in these competitions. I mean, all the other horses are so handsome and well turned out, but there's something about the greys that is just really lovely to watch.
Do you think he's sponsored by that drink? Well, the horse is called Absolute, if you're wondering why I've said that.
I'm glad to clarify, because I was wondering what you said.
Well, but now you know why. Now you know where I've come from, Robert.
I was thinking, is there a drink called Grey that I'm not missing out?
You can buy it in the duty-free sections of most airports.
Unless you're travelling within Europe.
Yeah. So just slipping down a little bit, but can't. It's been a busy test. So even this feels a bit quicker than most.
Yeah.
Compact horse.
Yeah, he does. He looks slightly smaller than the others, doesn't he?
Sort of further back, you just feel that if the horse wanted, would love to go at 100 miles an hour, almost like a racehorse.
Yeah, but again, that's about that control that riders have and the harmony between the pair. But yeah, obviously he wants to run through a field very quickly by the end of him.
Coming towards the end of his test is the 26-year-old. Into the halt. And job done, but sadly, well, there's hugs all round in the Spanish camp after that. And they're just trying to bring on their riders, but still a study of conversation. There's a calmness from the rider, which sometimes you didn't think with the horse. He looks unflappable, but the horse, well, he is pricked. Obviously, has had enjoyed himself in the arena, coming out, looking around, taking it all in, and just can confirm the score of Ladislav Kolosov at 66.927. That's his final score and puts him in 5th. But where are we going to see? I think we're probably, this might be just below the Polish rider who was first to go, Maciej Bigaj, who was first to go in this grade 4. And it looks like, unfortunately, from a Spanish perspective, they will be occupying the bottom 2 slots. So not quite the morning that they were hoping for. But then just a reflection of the horse is willing enough, perhaps just needs to just find a way of just controlling it a bit more and less hurried test. But it looks like his score is actually going to go ahead of the Polish rider, because 65 exactly is his score, so that will put him into provisionally 7th. Now, next into the arena, there's confirmation of Iker Beish's Astondoa's score. Now, next up, a rather splendid looking chap, Bellagio, 14-year-old, and it's the Austrian rider, Bernd Brugger.
Bernd was in the top 10 at the Europeans in Herning back in 2013. He's 16th in the grade overall. He hasn't figured too much in major internationals since Herning.
No, he was 9th again in Gothenburg, wasn't he? So, but you can see, and Bellagio is the horse. Austria, obviously, very much with Pepe Puig as a star man, but for the Austrians, they've got a full complement of 4 here. Bernd Brugger, Michaela Güntner, who was also competing in the grade 2, and Julia Skian Calepore, who I think was in the grade 1s, if my memory serves me correctly. But the 39-year-old Bernd Brugger is about to start his test. Well, he's into his test, I should say, and but lovely looking horse, gleaming in the Rotterdam sunshine. Scored 67.764 in an event in June. Again, so what we do see is a consistency of performance and where the horse is likely to score, and very much burnt on that mark at the moment. But coming to the halt now. It's not quite square at the back, but then into the rein back. Oops. Just not quite as smooth. So keeping it solid. Again, it's very much of a muchness. When we looked at the field for this, you could see that there were so many riders grouped with the same sort of, there's not much separating so many of this field in this 16 rider competition, except for three or four who appear to be a class apart. That's probably 3 riders appear to be a class apart in terms of performance expectations. So Bernd Brugger is sort of in the pack, but wants to be looking at a score in 67, maybe a bit more if he wants to be guaranteed a spot on Sunday.
I was just distracted. I was just trying to find the see if I could find the ranking scores for the teams going into Tokyo, because we had 3 teams qualified from WEG last year.
And they were
Netherlands, Great Britain and Germany.
Right.
And then what happens now is that the top 7 teams in the world who aren't Great Britain, Germany or the Netherlands will also qualify. So there's a lot of chasing.
And would presumably the host nation automatically have a team?
Host nation automatically qualifies, yep. So then there's the top 7 and then the top 1 per continent. So 1 from the Americas, 1 from Asia, 1 from Australasia, that kind of thing. So the European teams will be pushing for ranking points hugely.
Someone like Belgium, someone you'd expect them to probably...
Absolutely, and they'll be up in the ranking points, as would Denmark, as would potentially France or Italy, places like that, countries like that.
United States would be...
So the US is currently ranked number 2 in the world, so they're a pretty good bet for a place. But it's actually really tight between Brazil and Canada for the team spot. There's literally points in it within the ranking for that continental team spot. And the team spot is the precious one because that allows you to then take 4 athletes who can then compete individually.
Well, there are a number of countries here competing with just one rider. Well, we've seen a Polish representative. We got riders from Belarus, Greece. We saw yesterday a young rider there.
Obviously, Richards from Latvia as a sole rider for his country.
And I think that's the only countries that are one representative here this week of the 21 countries that are represented as part of these launching FEI Para-Dressage Championship. Austria, they'd be... Oh, he's clattering into the boards there. He's close to the edge, but coming down the centre line, and it's finishing more strongly with some good scores. And say the lovely looking horse. And Bernd Brugger, the 39-year-old, coming to the end now. And that's a nice halt, actually. And plenty of his fans and in the crowd, excited for him, but a good end. And he looks happy enough.
That's the official result from our rider from Spain.
Well, I can tell you that just looking at Iker Baisha Astondo, I saw him at 65%, but he's just been reduced down to 64.976. So, but still keeps him in 7th. That will change now because clearly Bernd Brugger has a score in excess of that. But I just wonder whether it's not quite going to get him into the top 5 currently, because I think you'll find that Camille Jacquelin is on 65.878. Just wait for the provisional score. Waiting for the final analysis. And just looking over his test, and let's see what he's... And then coming in now, we've got a Finnish rider. Then it will be Sanaa. So the next 20 minutes or so, I'm sure Manon Claes will be watching on very anxiously as we wait the provisional score for Bernd Brugger, the Austrian rider. And just the scores, and there's the centre line judge, and that in this grade 4 is Jeanette Vos from the Netherlands. And still waiting. Here it comes through. 66.390 is the provisional score for Bernd Brugger, which puts him into 6th spot. So not quite up to his recent marks, but still not a bad effort. Now, from Finland, it's our second Finnish rider in this grade 4. Just 22 years of age, and we were talking about Tokyo. It is definitely an ambition of Jessica Curtin to get to Tokyo. She's riding West Side, a horse that she's ridden since 2017. Her marks look to be around about the 65% marks for the young Finnish rider. And can she better that? And again, want to try and be part of a good performance here. Now ready to come down and start her test. So, Jessica Curtin is on her way. Riding this 16-year-old gelding, West Side.
I saw Jessica the other day at the trot up for this competition, and she was in with West Side, both to trot him up for his own vet check, but also as a friendly horse. You know, the whole friendly horse situation where a horse comes in to support the other horses. So this is the thing about,
just losing a little bit of momentum there, just lost the flow.
As the horses come out to support each other as well as the riders. So it's
and unfortunately there were a few fours creeping in there, so this is not quite the test that she was looking for. And the horse is definitely being a little unruly, so that's going to be another costly mistake. Just again needs to just calm it down, and the scores as a result are a little poor, little on what she would be hoping for. That halt, the 5s and 4s. All part of the experience.
Yeah, and I think this will be a great experience for Jessica. I think it's pretty certain it's her first major international, and it's the step up from a regional competition, a 3-star competition, to a major one like this. Everything is bigger. The stables are bigger, the atmosphere is bigger. They're 100 metres or so from the main stadium, which means this afternoon when they're riding, you'll get the cheers from the show jumping and all those things. It's all a test for the experience going forward in the sport.
Some riders take to it.
Some riders take to it.
Well, again, it's a big time feeling. Clearly, again, okay, we don't have the grandstands completely full, but there's lots of people around. There are plenty of photographers around, film crews. So that just generally it's not what you would be experiencing on a routine event, where just probably be friends and family might be there, and there might be one photographer, and a few officials, judges, and that might be it. So this is a very different feeling.
Yeah. They have the press side of things as well. You know, they go into a mixer.
You're such a brutal interviewer, aren't you? I mean, you.
I am the softest interviewer in the world. But they'll have their national press, and their national equestrian press will be wanting to speak to them and find out about it, which they wouldn't get at a regional competition.
Well, she's picked up after a start. The scores have just got a little better, but the sort of middle to early part of the test, there were too many mistakes, but I think she's settled into it, so the scores have taken a major upturn, as we can see from the running score on your screens. Definitely a marked improvement, and that will be very pleasing to her as well, because if you think that the horse just was a little bit free early on and was not totally straightforward to keep on the straight and narrow.
And again, from the experience point of view, she'll talk to her trainer after this. They'll watch the video back, whether it's this feed or quite often they'll stand at the side of the arena and film the test line. She's coming to the end now.
So, a smile on the face of the Finnish rider. And that is Jessica Curtin and the 16-year-old West Side. And will be very pleased, the smiling figure as she comes out of the arena. But clearly now there's an extra frisson of excitement. People have appeared out of the woods suddenly to come down here. Talking about the press. The British magazine, the Horse and Hound, have turned up. There's obviously someone important coming into the arena. And lots of others as well, photographers and everything. Because obviously,
spot. There's Nicole Den Dork is over there.
Yeah.
I think Rixt is with her. Frank Hosmer, the Grade 5 rider, is just in front of us. So yeah, the Dutch always turn out in force to watch each other.
And they're easy to spot. They're easy to spot.
And they're very easy to spot.
Yeah.
Also, not just colour, because they can be quite loud as well.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, they're just enthusiastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
I'm reserved and British. I just quietly wave a flag.
Curtin, and just seeing her test, and this is where you can see just, and I'm sure Jessica, though, looking as if she scored somewhere in the region of the mid-low 60s, sort of 62, 63% looks to be her score. Confirmed Bernd Brugger's final score, 66.293. That's the confirmed score as we just wait for her provisional score. And as Sanaa Wirtz has entered the arena, there in the background was Rosemary Jean Gaffney in your picture, but here is the provisional score of 62.732, putting her into 10th spot. Well, now we're at big time now for Sanaa Wirtz, who's been so dominant, and knows she's going to have to produce something a little special on Demonteur, because this 11-year-old chestnut has got to match the 73.805 of Manon Claes, an excellent test from the Belgian, but the three-time gold medal winning rider from the Netherlands at last year's WEG. Seeing her score last year was 73.927 at WEG. When she won the European Championship, it was 72.354. So she's got to match her WEG performance here. A 73.805 is the magic number for her to beat. And she's off to a good start, some eights there. And again, you can just see the elevation in quality from this partnership. But this is a good start, and clearly that knows she's got to nail it. But mistakes she cannot afford to have.
No.
And there's plenty of 8s and 7s, but a good start. This is going to be absorbing over the next few minutes or so. And there's not much separating these two. Can she keep this up? Well, we know she's got all the experience in the world. Just a halt some rain back. Not quite perfect. Little dip there. Will that be costly? Although one judge comes up with an 8. You haven't seen too many 9s throughout the week, but there's plenty of 8s coming in now. On that ball to left, there was some 3 8s, so the standard is being maintained. It might just be giving her the edge at present.
She'll want this one hugely. She won this title in Gothenburg 2 years ago. And she actually made her major breakthrough on the international scene at the Europeans in Herning back in 2013. And she's the Para-Dressage ambassador for this entire European Championships.
She just seems to have the edge at the moment, but it's not by much. And obviously Rick van der Horst disappointed not to win gold yesterday. And the Dutch will be obviously overwhelming favourites as far as the team competition is concerned. And it's looking close.
She's had Demonter for 3 years now. She took him on as a bit of a project.
And I've seen a 9. I've seen 1 9 in from one judge at H, and well, more 9s, and then M's given a 9 for the collected canter, so the scoring is good. You just feel this is doing enough, and it's mistake free. Proving her class here, but she's had to pull out a top performance because Manon Clay's laid down the gauntlet, and there's some very good scores coming in, although just on the odd dip, but maybe not enough to take up a low Manon at the moment. She's looking as if she's got the edge. And just hear the cheers from the main arena, which could be just slightly distracting from the show jumping, but she kept it together. And coming across. Now coming down for the final line. I think she's just doing enough here. Let's see how this halt looks. Coming down. Horse's ears are pricked. And then a punch, a yes. Is that a gold medal winning yes? That could be the anxious few moments that she'll be looking at the scoreboard, but she thinks she's done enough, I believe, and Demonter has delivered the goods, And that clearly means an awful lot to Sanaa if she has produced a test that was mistake-free as far as I was concerned. No real errors and just also consistent high quality. But my goodness me, did she have to produce something special, because Manon Claes really had delivered in her own right something that was a demanding target to beat. But Sanaa Voorts may have done enough here as she goes forward to have her horse be inspected. But I think she's done enough there.
Yep, I think so. She'll be absolutely delighted. She told me before the competition that one of the things she's most looking forward to is riding in front of family and friends and that support network we talked about earlier. So whatever happens, she'll be delighted with that performance. But yeah, it looks like a gold from here.
Well,
I'm off to talk to her.
Yeah. Goodbye, Robert. Going off to talk to Sanaa Voorts. Will he be talking to a gold medal winner? Yes, I think he will be, because the marks at the end for the rider ability, the collective marks, well, they look pretty good, and it's taking her further away from Manon Claes. So a terrific display from the Dutch rider, Sanaa Voorts, and waiting on it, and it was, as it coming through, she's just having a little hug and trying to stay calm. There is the Netherlands flag as the next rider is coming in, but here is the provisional score. Without question, that was a gold medal winning performance from Sanaa Voorts. 76.878 is the provisional score. That punch of the air at the end tells her how pleased she was. She had to produce something special. It is way much better than her individual performance last year at WEG. In the team score, she did score 76.550, but 76.878 is a fabulous display on this 11-year-old Sanaa Voorts, once again proving just what a dominant force she is at grade 4 level in the para-dressage discipline, and she's done it here this morning. Now, from Norway, Hege Sturseth is in on Hunnerup's force, the 31-year-old rider, and her marks would be somewhere in the high 60s, but clearly a tough act to follow when you've just seen been in following the arena when Sanaa Voorts was producing the goods. But what can this young Norwegian do here? And not a bad start. The only two riders currently in the 70% range, Sanaa Voorts and Manon Claes. But maybe this is a performance that could see her close to that mark if she can maintain this level of performance. That was a pretty decent halt, and then the rain back as well, compared to many. just the odd little blemish that has brought her scores down a bit after an encouraging start, particularly on that medium walk. Not quite the fluency there, a little bit laboured. Well, this might be a performance to put her into third spot, but in the high 60s, I should say. Federico Lunghi is the rider currently occupying third spot. If you missed it earlier, his reaction at the end of his test was pure joy to see. But in terms of here, the 31-year-old Norwegian putting in a fair effort. And coming down the centre line is our 13th competitor in this Grade 4 competition, and it is Hege Sturseth. And for the Norwegian rider, I think she'll be pretty pleased with that. It was not a bad effort, and it just might see her creep into third spot there, ahead of Federico Lunghi, and into the bronze medal position with just 3 more riders to go. Nikki Greenhill, Louise Etzner Jacobsen, looks like she'll be certainly competitive, and Rosemary Gaffney from Ireland, our next competitor. But for Hege Sturseth is currently exiting the arena. Just confirmed Sanaa Wirtz's now confirmed score is 76.659. 76.659 is her confirmed score, ahead of Manon Claes, who's in the silver medal. So another medal for the Belgian team this week on the card, 73.805.
And then we have 3 riders to go in this Grade 4 individual test. Nog 2 voor de pauze, hebben we een lange pauze en daarna nog 1 combinatie.
Looking at the score, I think Hege's going to be very pleased. Obviously Norway already secured 1 gold medal, and you just never know. Has she done enough to hold off the remaining 3 riders? If she does finish with a score, it looks as if she is going to be in the 68s. What the final score will be, we can reveal in a moment. Her provisional score, and still waiting on that. Next rider is, and good to see Ireland here with a full complement, and it is the 6-year-old Rosemary Gaffney who's coming in. And the provisional score from Norway is 68.634, puts her into bronze medal position. So an excellent display from the Norwegian rider, 68.008 she scored at Aarhus, so she's very much on that mark. And so for into the bronze medal. But the next three riders just might be intriguing. Whether Rosemary Gaffney can get a position ahead of Hagar, that might be up for question. But certainly Louise Jacobsen, and certainly there would be hope as well that Nikki Greenhill from Great Britain would be another one who might be looking to try and get into the 70s. So still all to play for. I think the gold medal has been done and dusted, but the other medals, well, particularly the bronze medal, I think is the one that is up for grabs still amongst these three riders. Now for Rosemary, love a quote that she's a judge lives by: put a backbone in where your wishbone is, which I think is some pretty decent advice. But in 2007, it's when she had a fall. She's got someone instructing her as she comes down the centre line. So, and as I say, lovely to see Ireland with a full complement of riders here this week. They have a team that includes Tamsin Addison, she'll be going this afternoon, Rosemary Jean Gaffney, Kate Horan and Michael Murphy. Kate's not here. Suddenly look, I've got to grade 5 and I didn't see that name. So there's actually been, it's just three riders. And thank my colleague from the Horse and Hound, who's obviously come here because there's something important going on to watch what the final proceedings. But good start though from Rosemary in the high 60s. Again, sort of scores that we'd be expecting her to post. Basically instructing what is on the judge's card, and then into that halt and rein back. So next is a loop of 5 meters, as you can hear.
Left 10 meters. EF medium trot.
No. So looking at the scores, you can see that so many are around about the 67, 68. So she's in that pack, but the target in a way is to try and nudge her way into the bronze medal position, which the target is 68.634, and she's in the ballpark. But
SE medium walk. EB half circle 20 meters in extended walk. B medium walk.
so when she gets to B,
Turn on the haunches left. B, collected trot. F,
that medium walk went well for her.
A, circle 20 meters in medium canter. A, collected canter. B, X4, change rein through 3 to 5 trot steps over X.
Nothing going wrong for her, but also consistently getting the scores that's going to give her an outside chance of moving into the bronze medal position. Perhaps needs to just pick it up a bit. He just might be behind a tad. had such a wonderful dressage the other day, which saw their team qualify for the able-bodied dressage, the Olympics, but just a mistake there on the collected counter, just a few blips along the way here, which has just cost her dear. Just a few mistakes. The last needs to regroup and try and end strongly, but that's going to be costly in the end. When you see a couple of too many 4s and 3s towards the end of a 3, that really is a big blip. So disappointing for Rosemary, those mistakes towards the end as she's coming down the centre line, ruining that, because the chance they looked as if she had a little hope of maybe getting into that bronze medal position, but not now with those mistakes towards the end. That what she's going to hope is she finishes, and well, big smile, but the Irish sport team is always a noisy one, but they have well, just pleased to see it, but don't think it's going to be enough for Rosemary, but maybe looks as if she's probably looking about 7th or 8th spot after that, but never mind. But those mistakes earlier just confirm Hege Sturza's score as 68.634. That is the confirmed score, so she's in the bronze medal position, but still that medal is up for grabs. You think, if you just joined us, the gold has gone, as will go to Sanaa Wirtz. No real surprise, but she did produce a magical test, and Manon Claes also producing something special, but for her 73.805, but might just, well, it isn't enough, but it does look good enough to secure a silver medal if the expected scores of the final 2 riders are to be sort of a marker for today's competition. Got the grade 5 this afternoon. That starts at 1 o'clock local time, and that too should be fascinating, with Sophie Wells the favourite here with her star horse Fatal Attraction. But other riders, Michaela George obviously will be in the mix, Frank Hosmer on Alphaville, and maybe, as talking about earlier, the Russian Natalia Martianova might be another one looking for medals here this afternoon, later in the day. But we now have coming in the experienced Swedish rider. That's Louise Jakobsen. We're waiting on the provisional score of Rosemary Gaffney, and it's 66.098 is her provisional score, and that's going to put her into 9th spot. So probably might feel a little disappointing, but there's such a compacted scoring between the 4th and the 9th rider. There really is, and even the well, now the 10th place rider, there's not much separating them. But we now have into the arena the 59-year-old Swedish rider who got a bronze in the European Championships in her native Sweden in Gothenburg with a score of 70.268. Matching that would put her back into the bronze medal position here. In the trial last year, where she didn't medal but still put in a good performance, she improved on that with a score of 70.780. So that's the kind of score we expect of her. Suffered a really nasty injury back in 2011 when a horse, basically, she described one of the calmest horses, caused her a problem, and she ended up cracking her skull and bleeding on the brain. But now riding, and this horse that she is riding, Sanaa, has given her great success. This 16-year-old chestnut, And can she get off to a good start? And looks as if she has, with some reasonably impressive scores from our judges. And that medium trot looked pretty decent as she went across the arena, and now some good scores coming in. Oh, into the halt. And maintaining a level of consistency that's keeping her in the 70s, and on course currently for a bronze. And that is with one more rider to go after this. There'll be a short break before Nikki Greenhill comes in. Was a very fluent move, that turn. Now the half circle again. Well, Louise Jakobsen is choosing a very experienced and calm test here. Just not going to be as close to Manon at the moment. But I think she's going to be, well, I wouldn't say thinking that this might be good enough to win bronze. Nikki Greenhill and her championship debut to come next. I know she'll have one or two nerves, but she seems a nerveless character. But for Louise Jakobsen, she's knows what she has to do at the big time level, and she could be on course for a second successive bronze medal in the grade 4. This has just flowed effortlessly. And the essence of a good dressage test is that smoothness and unflappability from the horse and rider, and that's what appears to have happened over the last few minutes as she heads towards the judge at sea to complete her individual grade 4 performance. And a happy smiling Louise Jakobsen has put her in definitely to bronze. Not sure there's enough to get the 73.805% that Manon Clay scored, but all in all, a great effort, and more importantly, a performance that's going to, well, right up there with one of her best on this horse. And as we wait for that score to come through.
585 and B 66.707. 66.097. 697 plaats voor de deelnemer uit het Ierland.
So we wait on her score.
A short break, 40 minutes break. 12:15, 1 rider to go in this grade 4 class.
There is just wait on the provisional score. Robert Howell has come back. I may have some reaction from Sanaa Wirtz before you nip off to go and see Louise.
So nothing from Sanaa yet, because she wanted to go back to the stables with the horse.
She's another one who ran away from you.
She's run away from me. She did promise she'll come back. Now, I popped back up because I just wanted to have a quick chat with you about Nikki, who's coming up, because we have a slightly longer break. She's visually impaired, so she gets a little bit longer to warm up on her own, and then a bit of acclimatisation in the arena. But I just wanted to tell you that so this is her first major championship. She's been on the cusp of qualifying for the British team for a good few years now, but this is her first major championship. It's just been a really tough week for her.
Well, because she had to change horse.
She had to change horse, so she normally rides a horse called Betty Boo, and then King Edward that she's riding today is her reserve. But Betty went tiny little niggle, and you don't take any risks.
I'll just tell you the score there, just to confirm. Excellent, 72.854 from Louise Jacobsen. So
that should be bronze. Yeah.
Well, that should be bronze, but
there's still one more to go. And Nikki is a great rider. So she had the second choice horse to come. So her guide dog Sparky is obviously with her, and had an interesting journey, shall we say. And at one point, one of the taxi drivers locally wouldn't take her guide dog, so they had to arrange another car to get the guide dog transported around. Her husband Gary is her caller to give her the spatial awareness.
He's lost his voice. Oh goodness me!
According to Facebook this morning, is coming back.
Is he going to be doing the instructions?
I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, because she did say on Facebook this morning that his voice is coming back, so they may not have to use her reserve, because of course all her training is done with Gary's voice.
And if you watch the interview on the GB Para-Dressage Facebook page, it talks about how they have to time everything to perfection in terms of the orders and instructions. So, and it is teamwork. It is inherent. So for Gary, well, that's going to be interesting.
But there's one more thing.
Okay.
She got stung by a wasp and had to go to a hospital with anaphylactic shock.
When?
Monday.
Oh. As a week goes, that's interesting. Well, on that note...
on that bombshell, hopefully wish her well. And
well, I tell you what, if she comes away with a bronze medal...
It will be a fairy tale.
Fairy tale,
lovely.
But you never know. So Nikki Greenhill's still to go. We don't know who's calling. Will it be the voiceless husband or a mystery person? But join us shortly.
nieuwe opleidingen en projecten. Bijvoorbeeld in de sector zorg, techniek en haven. Dit maakt de overgang van basisschool naar voortgezet onderwijs makkelijker en draagt ook bij aan een goede studiekeuze. Het derde project van Werk als een Paard is gericht op kinderen uit het speciaal onderwijs, waaronder kinderen met het syndroom van Down, kinderen met autisme en kinderen met diverse leer- en gedragsproblemen. Drie groepen kinderen van 7 tot 14 jaar kregen eens per week op de manege therapeutische les met inzet van paarden. Voor elk van deze kinderen is een persoonlijk ontwikkelingsplan gemaakt. Met behulp van de paarden werken de kinderen wekelijks aan hun eigen doelstellingen, zoals beter leren luisteren, concentratievermogen en meer communiceren. Paardensportevenementen bestaan met migratie in de stad en haar inwoners. Met de projecten van Werken als een Paard, die kosteloos zijn voor de deelnemende kinderen, scholen en instellingen, wil de organisatie van Werken als een Paard daar ook iets voor teruggeven. Dat gebeurt door de wereld groter te maken voor kinderen voor wie dat niet altijd even vanzelfsprekend is. En daarmee ook deze kinderen de kans te geven zelf te ervaren dat als je werkt als een paard, veel kunnen bereiken.
u nu wilt sparen voor een eerste huis, beleggen om straks eerder te kunnen stoppen met werken of voor een studie voor je kind? Pak het aan op rabobank.nl/aanpakkers. Kom maar op met de toekomst. Rabobank.
Smart shades that simplify your life. Just program your personal settings and have you automatically move your shades throughout the day so you don't have to. And with a stunning array of styles, colours and fabrics, the most beautiful window treatments now become the smartest window treatments. Discover the possibilities of power viewing motorization at luxaflex.com.
Je ziet ze steeds vaker. Aanpakkers. Zij zijn aanpakkers en zij helemaal. En Rabobank vindt het prachtig. Want deze aanpakkers regelen het gewoon. Hun geld voor straks. Dus of je nu wilt sparen voor een eerste huis, beleggen om straks eerder te kunnen stoppen met werken of voor een studie voor je kind, pak het aan op rabobank.nl/aanpakkers. Kom maar op met de toekomst. Rabobank.
second, so otherwise. Yeah. Yeah. Is going to that one. Yeah. So.
Zeg maar verhuurstopping via het vakkenlicht en snel een verstopping in de afvoer van de wastafel, keuken, douche of toilet. In heel Zuid-Holland helpt zichtbaar rioolstopping u bij stankoverlast en alle voorkomende problemen aan de afvoer en riolering. En tegen dit zeer aantrekkelijke tarief roept u natuurlijk de hulp in van de onbetwiste rioolspecialist. Ga voor alle informatie snel naar zegbaarrioolstopping.nl.
All those houses are running? Yeah. Also, this one and that one are going down. Yeah. Then it's really something between it, but if it's only that one, then otherwise those two should also going down. If those two are working, then no. Our eyes were just happening.
Je ziet ze steeds vaker. Aanpakkers. Zij zijn aanpakkers en zij helemaal. En de Rabobank vindt het prachtig. Want deze aanpakkers regelen het gewoon. Hun geld voor straks. Dus of je nu wilt sparen voor een eerste huis, beleggen om straks eerder te kunnen stoppen met werken of voor een studie voor je kind, pak het aan op rabobank.nl/aanpakkers. Kom maar op met de toekomst. Rabobank.
7 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, and we will have our next rider, the number 16 of our starting order in this Norwegian FEI Para-Dressage European Championships. We are watching the individual test for grade 4 riders. Leading Sanaa, they want to RS2 NOP, our Dutch rider, 76.658 leading score. The current number 2 is Louise, Belgium, 73.805, and Louise Jakobsson, Sweden, she's the current number 3, 72.902. Nou goed, met deze score, nummers 1 tot en met de 3 heb ik u net doorgegeven, Zijn we zeker van dat Nederland zilver heeft. Die laatste combinatie afwachten en dan weten we zeker of het misschien zelfs goud wordt en goud blijft. Want ze staat op dit moment aan de leiding. Salvoets. Ladies and gentlemen, the next rider, the last rider in this grade 4 competition, it's individual competition. We go to Great Britain, Nicky Greenhill, King Edward 1, in 11 years old gelding by Calido, King Edward 1, Nicky Greenhill, Great Britain.
So we come to the final rider, and it is Nicky Greenhill from Great Britain, and the blind rider coming in, and it will be other half Gary Greenhill who will be doing the calling. And it hasn't been a trouble-free week this week for her in terms of the preparations. She suffered a wasp bite and then had to go to hospital because of a reaction to that.
Can I be here? And I'll step here and then I'll step in and I'll step back.
And so just ready to go. And obviously from a scoring perspective, she's got to try and get into the 70s, but needing a score of 72.902, better that for a score to get a bronze medal. But her week, not only has she suffered a reaction to a wasping, the horse that she would normally ride went lame, so that's why she's riding King Edward, her second horse. And so it just has been a championship debut that has been fraught with difficulty. However, plus the blind dog, the guide dog as well, he had some travel issues as well, so it's been a logistical. And there is the her guide dog with the Union Jack dog collar, but watching on. And here we go, just
H, X, R, B, P, F, V, E, S.
and the skill required is staggering, and the confidence that she must have in her horse, and indeed her skill. And Gary lost his voice earlier in the week, so he wasn't able to.
Mark, it isn't working.
Something's not
Mark,
working.
It isn't working.
C, M.
It's quite loud.
There's a mark. Something isn't working that she's talking about, and something's not working. And obviously, technically, everything has to be in place, and the complications that are required. It's all very nerve-wracking for her, just trying to settle down.
M, track. R, B, P, F, A, X, 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 X. C,
So now the test is underway.
A, B, B, B. X.
There's a caller down at K. Just looking at the scores, there's some pretty good scores coming in. More significantly, around about the 7.5, there's some 8s as well. But just from a straight test point, now she's coming into the halt. Nice tidy halt, now into the rein back. Just a little sticky, but all right.
H. S. E. E.
Incredibly difficult requirements here, but from a strictly tested point of view, it looks all right. Probably not going to be winning a bronze medal, but all the same, it's still a very creditable effort given the stresses and strains of the build-up on all levels. So it's all going pretty well from a score point of view.
B, 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 B.
B, B, B.
And the scores are around the 6.57 marks, and there is a running score, so she's just shy of the 70% mark, which would put her into 4th spot, which is probably where she would be expected. The horse is normally scoring around about 70% and did last time. Up in a heartbreak. Caller standing at K to help guiding her to that point. In terms of the sight she does have, it's working in this arena when it's going from light to dark is far from ideal for her. But this is, all things considered, I think she's going to be very... Whoop, just a little chink there. Unfortunate. In that collected canter, so that will just mark her down a little bit. She recovered well. And now coming down the centre line. Into the final part of that. And, well, pretty good effort. Big applause around the arena for that. It is, you can sort of feel it, how complicated it is, and the skill required from all partnership, the teamwork required is an extraordinary element of this, but she's smiling away, just acknowledging the cheers of the crowd. But she's got there. As I say, it hasn't been the easiest of weeks in terms of preparation and things that have happened sort of behind the scenes, but she's got there, and can be, from a performance perspective, it looks as if it will be a 4th spot, which, all things considered, I think she's going to be very pleased with indeed. So Sanaa Wirtz is the gold medalist, with Manon Claes in silver and Louise Jacobsen picking up the bronze medal. But in terms of performance, we're waiting the provisional score. But it's 69.286. We're just waiting on that final score.
And bronze, Louise Jacobsen, Sweden, 72.902.
Looking at the halt rein and the rein back and the halt.
Nog 3 resultaten. Dan gaan we het weten.
Just waiting on the final few marks to come in.
Gaat het goud naar Nederland. Het brons, het zilver naar België en het brons naar Zweden.
Dat moet niet. Dit gaat niks mee, want het is...
And there is the provisional score. Just waiting on still a few more scores to come in to confirm score. Next competition will begin at 1 o'clock, which is the grade 5. That is in just over half an hour's time, when Regine Mispelkamp from Germany will begin. Now the provisional score is 69.610. 69.610 for Nikki Greenhill. That puts her into 4th, but all things considered, that is a great effort from Nikki Greenhill, and she has got, and it means that, to confirm then the result of the grade 4. First gold of the week in the Para-Dressage then for Holland, Sanaa Wirtz, Manon Claes in 2nd for Belgium, their 2nd medal of the week, and Louise Jacobsen picks up the bronze. Next test will begin in half an hour's time. Do join us for the grade 5, where Sophie Wells, like Sanaa Wirtz, is attempting to defend her European Championship, rather hoping to add to her success from Tryon. Sanaa Wirtz was, Sophie Wells was 2nd to Frank Hosmer, and he will be competing again in Gothenburg. So lots to look forward to. Do join us from 1 o'clock.
Thanks to our judges, thanks to Elke Ebert, to Sarah Roger, Jeanette Vols, Katrien Luchewski and Kjell Meer. Thank you very much for judging this grade 4 individual test. And then we have the official results for Nicky Greenhill and Kick Edward 1. 69.536, ranked 4 at E, 68.902 at 8, 69.756 at C, 71.098, M 69.024 and B 68.902. Total 69.536, 69.536 en vierde plaats voor onze laatste deelnemer voor Nicky Greenhill, Great Britain. Vierde plaats staan. Dan is het officieel, dames en heren. Dan weten we dat we later vandaag de gouden medaille gaan hangen bij Sanaa Foods. 76,658. Maar dan geplaatst uit België met Sandior. Zij is de nummer 2, 73,805. En het brons gaat naar Zweden, naar Louise, met Jacobson brons en Sanaa 72,902.